ShotokuTech News of the Week, bringing you news stories that you might have missed because there were other news stories. You're watching Snot Dub, or ShotokuTech News of the Week, 11 April 2020 edition. Okay, so here's an anniversary for you. April 5th, 1772, Dutch navigator Jacob Roggeveen discovers Easter Island on Easter Sunday. I guess that's how it got its name. And of course they were baffled by these towering stone statues there. Just 4 short weeks ago on ShotokuTech News of the Week, I reported that a local resident of Easter Island discovered his brakes were out when he took out one of those statues. Whoops. Here is a rather expensive reminder about parking your car in a grass field. 3,500 cars caught fire at Southwest Florida International Airport rental car overflow parking. This is terrible. Let's look at some of the pictures from this scene. Yeah, it's just a car's hot exhaust pipe hit some dry grass, and with that many cars parked together, there were over 8,000 cars parked together at the time, so they were lucky to save the remainder of them. So let this be a reminder to us all. It's becoming a dry season virtually everywhere in North America, so don't park in the grass. Well, this is interesting. A tiger, Nadia, at the Bronx Zoo tests positive. This is the first known case of an animal infected in the United States. First time anywhere that they know of a person infecting an animal where the animal got sick. In fact, all of the tigers in this environment were showing signs of decreased appetite and a dry cough, but they're doing well under veterinary care. So stay away from the tigers. Whale sharks can live for at least 50 years and probably longer. Whale sharks are difficult to determine their age because they can track their age based on growth rings in their vertebra, but they may stop growing after sexual maturity. So they've been using carbon-14 to test the shark's age, and they've determined that they could be as old as 50 years or more. Great white sharks were thought to only live 12 to 15 years, but similar studies with the carbon-14 technique have revealed individuals as old as 73. Another similar study reported that Greenland sharks are the longest living vertebrates, possibly living as long as 500 years. Well, Companion is skeptical about such extreme lifespans, but says it's clear they could live more than a century, as long as they stay away from the tigers. Well, for better or worse, it looks like there's a gold rush on the moon. Yes, the United States considers that the resources on the moon are there for the taking. The 1967 Outer Space Treaty allows for the use of such resources. We never did sign on to the 1979 Moon Treaty, which stipulates that non-scientific use of space resources be governed by an international regulatory framework. And in 2015, Congress passed a law explicitly allowing American companies and citizens to use moon and asteroid resources. This goes on to describe our planned Artemis mission to establish a human presence on the moon in the 2020s, so it's an interesting read. Also in outer space, Swarm finally gets the approval it needs to begin operating its satellite connectivity service in the United States. Space startup Swarm emerged from stealth mode in an unusual way 2 years ago when it turned out that it had launched some of its satellites in violation of an FCC order not to do so. Smaller than most CubeSats, were in fact too small and couldn't be reliably tracked using existing technology. Swarm has cleared all requisite regulatory hurdles now. So it got approval for the 150 satellites from the FCC and up to a total of 600. It gained approval to use the wireless spectrum that it requires to transmit from its satellites to Earth. On top of that, the company has now added regulatory approval to operate in UK, New Zealand, Germany, Sweden, Antarctica, and in international waters. And it's got approval for ground stations. The plan is to provide a worldwide affordable satellite data network for Internet of Thing applications. All right, keep looking up. This was fun. I'm just stirring the social media pot on Wednesday morning, and it's not even 5 a.m. I get this notice from Stephen Yoon, branch chief at NASA Ames Research Center, and he's putting forth we all have Schrodinger's virus. And of course, I had to follow the challenge because he goes on to say if you don't understand this joke, you're never allowed to talk about science again. So you can just Bing Schrodinger, follow the links in Wikipedia to the Schrodinger cat thought experiment and find that the cat is both alive and dead in a state of quantum superposition. So just keep on learning even at 5 a.m. These two stories about Zoom really present two different things. One is if your product is not 100% ready, it's always going to put you in a perilous situation. And two, bad guys never stop, and confusing times of chaos and crisis are where bad people really try to exploit things. So all of you at home, please be careful on what you're clicking on. And here we can see in particular Zoom is facing multiple security issues. 2 days of transmitted video meetings that weren't encrypted end-to-end, leaking thousands of emails. Attackers can send malicious links to users' chat interfaces and gain access to their email passwords. So they get this unencrypted stream of everybody's emails, and then they can go find you in Zoom and then get your password to your email. So that's really not very positive. And as an outcome of that, then we see the blowback, shareholder suing Zoom because the stock price dropped 28% in a day over the news of this security issues with Zoom. So it's times like these that really test everything and everyone, but always understand that evil people are always looking to exploit the situation, especially at times of crisis and chaos like this. So please be careful. April 9 is the anniversary of the Mercury 7, the select group of astronauts that were picked to fly for Project Mercury in 1959. Congratulations. Well, I'm not sure how they're managing production in this era of social distancing, but Netflix is going to deliver a fictional comedy Space Force before the actual one ever gets off the ground, starring Lisa Kudrow and Steve Carell, John Malkovich, Ben Schwartz, Diana Silvers, and Tawny Newsome. Follows a group of people tasked with establishing the United States Space Force. All right. That's going to be coming on May 29th, apparently. Like I say, I don't know how they're managing to produce this in era of social distancing. We'll see how it goes. It appears cats and ferrets are susceptible to contract COVID-19, while dogs, chickens, pigs, and ducks are not likely to catch the virus. So please help your pets social distance properly, and especially the cats. NASA selects Masten Space Systems to deliver cargo to the moon in 2022. That's interesting. Yeah, this company is being selected to deliver technical payloads and help set up permanent scientific exploration there. The company has a XL-1 lander, and they're required to land on the moon and operate for at least 12 days post-landing. The XL-1 lander, developed by Masten, is an evolution of lander designs that took part in and won the NASA Centennial Northrop Grumman Lunar Lander X Prize Challenge in 2009. They're going to be looking for the presence of gases that indicate water. Well, it's good to know we can still do this. A U.S.-Russian crew blast off for the space station after a strict quarantine. NASA astronaut Chris Cassidy and Roscosmos astronauts Anatoly Ivanishin and Ivan Wagner lifted off for a scheduled launch from the Russian-operated Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan. Best wishes. This is an interesting find. Railway workers near Guildford find a 14th century cave or medieval shrine. The sandstone cave has several sections and is a remnant of a larger cave that probably didn't survive through the original cutting of this railway in the 1840s. There's markings and initials in the walls. There's also soot and evidence of a couple of fire pits. This area was originally called Drake Hill or Hill of the Dragon, and it's near the 14th century chapel of St. Catherine. Archaeologists are looking forward to continuing to explore this area, and they're working to preserve as much as possible. Apparently the trailer is out for this, Kubrick by Kubrick. It's a Tribeca Film Festival doc, and it's really narrated by Stanley Kubrick, over 30 years worth of interviews. The film is directed by French filmmaker Gregory Monroe. He's made movies about several great cinema luminaries. These are conversations between Stanley Kubrick and a French film critic, Michel Ciment. Ciment had this 3-decade-long relationship with Kubrick and conducted many interviews. Kubrick famously avoided the press and gave few interviews throughout his career, so this is an awesome insight into the mind of Stanley Kubrick. Let's look forward to this. Thank you for watching Snot Dub or ShotokuTech News of the Week. Please comment, like, subscribe, and share. Please subscribe to ShotokuTech so little Jimmy can have legs, won't you? Thank you very much.